All right, let's talk about AI. I mean, it's everywhere, right? But it's so much more than just a tech headline. It's a huge shift that's already shaking up the world of work. So, in this explainer, we're going to cut right through all that noise and figure out what this whole AI revolution actually means for you, for your job, and your future. Okay, let's just jump right in with something that'll wake you up. When the CEO of a major AI company, Anthropic, uses a phrase like white collar bloodbath, yeah, you know the stakes are incredibly high. We're not just talking about some fancy new app here. This is a real fundamental challenge to the professional world as we've always known it. But, and this is a huge but, that's not the whole story, not even close. While all the headlines are screaming about job losses, if you actually dig into the research, like the stuff from Indeed's hiring lab, a totally different picture emerges. It's not really about replacement. The real keyword here is transformation. So the question isn't, will my job disappear? The real question is, how is my job about to change? So let's get into it. Section 1, the AI job quake. To really wrap our heads around this, we need to understand what's happening under the hood. What is AI actually doing to the very DNA of our jobs? Okay, but how do you even begin to measure something this massive? I mean, job transformation sounds pretty abstract, right? Well, that brings us to our next section, where we're going to look at a new framework that really helps make sense of it all. So, the key to understanding this is something called the GenAI Skill Transformation Index, or GSTI for short. And this is really clever. It completely throws out that old, simplistic idea of safe jobs versus unsafe jobs. Instead, it looks at the degree of change for thousands of individual skills. It's a much smarter, much more realistic way to see what's actually going on. And this breaks it down into 4 levels. Think of it less like an on-off switch and more like a spectrum. On one end, you've got minimal transformation, so basically things stay the same. All the way on the other end is full transformation, but the really interesting stuff where most of us will live is in the middle. You've got assisted transformation, where AI is kind of your co-pilot, and hybrid transformation, where AI does the heavy lifting, but you, the human, are still in the driver's seat, overseeing everything. Okay, now look at these numbers because this is fascinating. A whopping 80% of skills fall into just 2 categories, minimal and hybrid. And get this, look at that tiny little sliver for full transformation, just 1%. This is the hard data that shows the real story isn't about us being replaced. It's about us working with AI. It's about us combining that critical thinking, that judgment, that a machine just doesn't have. All right, so we've got the framework. Now let's get down to brass tacks. Which jobs are really on the front lines of all this change? And this table just lays it all out plain and simple. The pattern is crystal clear. On one side, you've got jobs that are all about thinking, data, and sitting in front of a screen. Coders, financial advisors, translators. And on the other side, jobs that need you to be physically there. You need hands, you need to move around, think roofing, cleaning, construction. The bottom line is, AI can't climb a ladder or give a patient a comforting pat on the shoulder. At least, not yet. So let's really see this in action by comparing 2 very different jobs, nursing and software development. For a nurse, so much of the job, like 68% of their skills, is physical, it's person to person. Sure, AI can help with paperwork, but it can't do the core job. Now, flip over to software development. A huge 81% of their skills are perfect for that hybrid model. The AI can crank out all the boring, routine code, which frees up the human developer to focus on the big picture stuff, the creative, problem-solving part of the job. And this is maybe the single biggest takeaway for the whole job market. Look at that middle bar. More than half of all jobs, 54%, are in that moderate exposure zone. What does that mean? It means these jobs aren't going away, but they're absolutely not staying the same. They are evolving, plain and simple. And the future? Well, it belongs to the people who are willing to evolve right along with them. Okay, so the data tells one story. It paints a pretty clear picture. But what does this all feel like for people in their day-to-day lives? What are actual workers saying about this huge shift? I saw this comment on Reddit, and it just nails the vibe right now. It says, resisting AI is futile. Embracing it is evolution. And that's it, isn't it? The whole conversation is changing. It's not about fighting this new tool anymore. It's about figuring out, okay, how can I use this thing to get ahead? And then there's this one, which gets even more direct. You cannot avoid AI. You must learn and use the tools for your position, or else someone else will. Wow. I mean, that really cuts to the chase, doesn't it? This isn't some high-minded debate for a university classroom. This is a practical, career-defining reality. There's a real urgency here. The message is clear: learn this stuff or you risk getting left behind. Which, of course, leads us to the most important question of all. What are you supposed to do about all this? Well, in our final section, we're going to give you a playbook, a guide for how you can start to not just survive, but actually thrive in this new world. First up, let's talk about the money, because let's be honest, that's a pretty good motivator. A study in the UK found that jobs that ask for AI skills pay, on average, a 23% salary premium. 23%. To put that in perspective for you, that's a bigger pay raise than you'd get for having a master's degree. The market is screaming at us right now, telling us what skills are valuable. So, where do you even start? It's way easier than you might think. Seriously, this is not about you needing to become a coder overnight. It's about becoming a savvy AI user. Here's a super simple 3-step plan to get started. 1. Go log into a free AI tool, like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, any of them. 2. Just write out what you do for a living. Describe your job, your main tasks. And 3. Just ask it a simple question. How can you help me do my job better? That's it. Start a conversation. Think of it like a new intern or an assistant, and just see what happens. And that really brings us to the final, most important point of all. The new thinking is this: AI is not going to take your job, but a person using AI, they just might. That's your competition now, the person who figures out how to use these tools to be faster, smarter, and more creative. So the real question for you isn't if AI will impact your job. It will. The only question left is, are you going to be that person using it